The spine between worlds. Author Lara Vere. The stillness was suffocating, a heavy silence wrapping around Emily like a shroud. "Hello?" she called, her voice trembling as it bounced off the metal walls of the empty bus. Damp earth and an acrid tang coiled in the air, twisting her stomach. She rose from the sticky vinyl seat. The dashboard lights flickered, throwing warped shadows over the abandoned driver's chair, as if the driver had stepped away mid-conversation and never returned. With careful steps, she moved toward the rear emergency exit, the creak of the floorboards matching the thud of her heartbeat. "I'm getting out," she whispered. Her fingers curled around the cold handle. The hinges shrieked as she pulled, letting in a rush of damp wind smelling of wet grass and burnt rubber. Outside, the lane was narrow, hedgerows standing tall like silent sentinels. Moonlight bled weakly through heavy cloud. "Where is everyone?" she murmured. A shadow moved in the distance. Panic clawed at her ribs until a voice emerged from the darkness. "Hello?" A man stepped into the moonlight, clothes caked with mud, eyes wide and wild. "Don't go back inside. You don't want to be trapped in there." "What happened? Where is everyone?" "Gone." One moment they were here, then silence. Like the world slipped away. His gaze flicked toward the fields, where something shifted again. "We need to move, now." The wind hissed through the hedgerows. Emily felt the pull of the unknown, the air thick with warning. She nodded, and together they turned from the bus into the dark. Gravel crunched underfoot. The man kept glancing behind them. "What's your name?" "Dylan. And you?" "Emily." The lane narrowed, moonlight stretching their shadows. "There's a farmhouse ahead. It's abandoned, safer than staying out here." Emily's gut tightened. "And if whatever took the others is in there, better than waiting for it to find us." The hedgerows pressed closer. The air vibrated with unseen movement. When it happened, what did it feel like? Like drowning in silence. Then I woke up alone in the fields. The clouds shifted. The farmhouse appeared, a black silhouette against the moon. "It doesn't look safe." "Neither is out here." Shadows flitted at the field's edge. Emily's instincts screamed. If the same thing happens to us, we face it together. The front door hung ajar, breathing stale air and rot. "Do you think anyone's here?" "If they are, they're keeping quiet." Emily stepped inside first. Moonlight filtered through grime-streaked windows, touching peeling wallpaper and swirling dust. "We need to search for anything useful." Agreed, quickly. The outside rustling grew louder, steady, rhythmic, like a heartbeat. "Basement or attic?" "Somewhere we can lock down." They moved down a hallway lined with half-open doors. A sudden crash from the rear froze them. "Kitchen." Emily grabbed his wrist. "We go together." The kitchen door gaped open. Inside, mold crept over the walls. A table sagged under shattered plates. A rat darted into a hole. Emily's gaze caught on a faded newspaper clipping stuck to the fridge. Vanished without a trace. These people, they look like the passengers. Dylan tore it free. "This place is connected." The wind outside roared. Shadows surged in the fields. "We leave now." "Not yet. Answers first." A creak sounded in the hallway. Emily took the lead this time. "Let's find out who or what is here." The hallway stretched ahead, each step groaning under Emily's weight as she led the way. Moonlight seeped through warped window frames, spilling across the floor in jagged shapes. "Careful," Dylan murmured behind her, his voice tight. "Something's been moving in here." At the end of the corridor, a heavy oak door stood closed, the only one without peeling paint. The metal handle gleamed faintly as if recently touched. "This is it." She reached for the handle, pausing when a faint scrape echoed from the other side. slow, deliberate, like nails dragging across wood. "On 3, Dylan whispered, gripping a rusted fire poker he'd taken from the hearth. Emily counted under her breath. 1, 2, 3. The door swung inward. The smell hit them first, damp earth, rot, and something metallic. The room beyond was a study. Walls lined with shelves sagging under the weight of dusty tomes. A desk sat in the center, its surface cluttered with loose papers and hand-drawn maps marked with frantic red circles. Female, soft. These, their dates and names. She lifted one page, her stomach tightening. Every date matched a known disappearance. Bus passengers, hikers, even an entire family from decades ago. "It's been happening for years," Dylan said, scanning the walls. Whoever lived here was tracking it. A low hum rippled through the floorboards, vibrating up their legs. The papers fluttered as if caught in a sudden breath of wind, though the air was still. "That's coming from below us." She knelt, fingers brushing against a seam in the floorboards, a trapdoor worn smooth at the edges. "You really want to open that? Do you want to leave without knowing?" She pulled. The wood groaned, revealing a black void and a staircase that plunged into darkness. The hum grew louder, now threaded with something else, a whisper just beyond comprehension. "Emily, that's not wind." They descended, the air thickening with each step. The walls dripped with condensation, the sound of their breathing swallowed by the oppressive dark. At the bottom, a narrow tunnel stretched into the earth, lit by a faint, pulsing glow. "It's alive down here." The tunnel widened into a cavern, and in the center, half buried in soil, was the bus. Its windows were black, the metal groaning as if it still held breath. From the shadows around it, shapes began to move. "Those are the passengers." They stood swaying, faces slack, eyes empty, their clothes wet with soil. One by one, they turned toward Emily and Dylan. "Back, up the stairs, now." But the whispering grew louder, layering over itself until it formed words neither of them could fully understand. Except for one, repeated over and over in voices that weren't human. "Stay." Emily's pulse thundered in her ears. The word "stay" dripped from the air like ice water, each repetition crawling across her skin. "Emily, move," Dylan barked, yanking her arm. The passengers shuffled closer. Their movements weren't clumsy. They were deliberate, synchronized, as though guided by an unseen conductor. "They're blocking the stairs!" "Then we go around." Dylan pushed her toward the far edge of the cavern, where shadows folded over a jagged stone wall. The whispering followed, swelling into a chorus that made her teeth ache. A woman at the front, her hair matted, bus seatbelt still slung over one shoulder, tilted her head. Her eyes, empty yet aware, locked on Emily's. "What do you want?" "Join." The ground shuddered. Soil fell from the cavern ceiling, speckling their hair. "Emily, now." They ran. A figure lunged from the side. Emily ducked, her shoulder grazing cold, damp skin. Dylan swung the fire poker, connecting with a sickening crack. The shape staggered but didn't fall. "It doesn't stop them." "Then we keep hitting until it does." They reached a narrow slit in the rock. Dylan shoved Emily through first, the passage forcing them single file. Behind them, the whispering rose into a scream, the words "stay" bending, stretching, until it became a guttural wail. "It's following." A cold hand clamped around her ankle. Emily kicked hard, her boot connecting with bone. The grip loosened. Dylan grabbed her wrist and hauled her forward. The tunnel bent sharply upward, the air thinning. Moonlight glimmered faintly ahead. Almost there. A shadow darted in front of the light. For a heartbeat, Emily thought it was another passenger, until she saw its face. Not blank, not human. Its features shifted like water, its mouth curling into a smile that wasn't meant for comfort. "Dylan?" The thing lunged. Dylan swung the poker, striking its head with a sharp clang, metal on metal. The creature shrieked and dissolved into mist, retreating down the tunnel. They burst into the night. The cold air was a knife in Emily's lungs, but it was clean. Above them, the clouds had thinned, the moon painting the lane in silver. We keep moving. Don't stop until the farmhouse is a mile behind us. And after that, we figure out how to make sure it can't follow. Behind them, from deep underground, the whisper came again, faint but clear. Stay. They ran until the farmhouse was nothing but a dark smudge on the horizon. Gravel gave way to dirt, the lane narrowing between skeletal hedges. Do you hear that? Dylan slowed. The night was quiet, too quiet. Even the wind had stopped. No birds, no insects, nothing. Emily turned to glance back. The moonlight no longer touched the farmhouse. It was swallowed in a black shape, like a tide rolling silently over the fields. It's moving toward us. Then we go faster. They broke into a run again, but after a few minutes, Dylan's breathing hitched. He skidded to a stop, eyes scanning the hedgerows. This isn't right. The lane ahead bent in a familiar curve, the same curve they had passed less than 10 minutes ago. We're back where we started. Her stomach dropped. She looked down at the ground, their footprints, clear in the dust, doubled back on themselves. It's not just following us, it's folding the road. The hedges rustled. Shadows shifted inside them, whispering in low, overlapping tones. This time, the word wasn't stay. Home. It's trying to send us back. Dylan grabbed her hand and yanked her off the road into the field. The grass came up to their waists, wet and cold, brushing against their legs like fingers. We cut across, no paths. It can't twist what we make ourselves. They pushed forward, the ground sucking at their shoes. The moon lit a faint outline of trees ahead, a small copse that might offer cover. Halfway there, the earth trembled beneath their feet. Dylan, it's doing something. The grass around them shivered, then bent inward, closing like the petals of a night-blooming flower, the stalks interlaced above their heads, sealing off the moonlight. Don't panic. I'm not. The ground shifted. Beneath the grass, something began to move. Slow, massive, and circular, like they were standing above a great turning wheel. A seam opened in the soil ahead, widening into a black spiral. The whispering rose again, this time clearer, closer, curling into Emily's ears. Come home. We run now. They plunged toward the trees, fighting against the tilting ground. Roots clawed at their ankles, trying to hold them. Dylan's fire poker sliced through the vines, his breath ragged. They burst into the copse, the spiral vanishing behind them. The air here was different, still, but not dead. We bought time, not much. Between the trees, a faint orange glow pulsed, steady and unnatural. Emily stepped toward it, heart hammering. Female. What is that? Dylan followed her gaze. Through the branches stood a weathered stone arch, half buried in roots, its surface etched with the same symbols she'd seen on the maps in the study. The glow was coming from inside the arch, a light that seemed to breathe. Maybe it's a way out. Or a way deeper in. The arch loomed taller as they approached, the glow within shifting from orange to deep red, then back again, like a heartbeat. The symbols carved into its stone writhed in the flickering light, as though they were never truly still. It's alive, or it's been waiting. Behind them, the copse shuddered. The grass beyond was folding in on itself again, the spiral reforming, closer this time, its dark center turning toward them like an opening eye. We don't have time to think. Exactly why stepping through could be the worst move we make. A wind rose from nowhere, rushing toward the arch as if the earth itself was trying to pour them inside. The red light pulsed faster. The whispering started again, louder now, impossible to ignore. Home. Come home. What if home isn't ours? Dylan glanced back at the closing spiral, then at the arch. His jaw tightened. We choose the danger we don't know. He grabbed her hand and stepped forward. The instant their feet crossed the threshold, the air changed. Heavier, warmer, tinged with the smell of rain on stone. The world blurred, colors stretching into threads, pulling them through like strands of cloth being woven into a new pattern. Dylan, it's... Her voice broke as the ground solidified beneath them again. They stood on a narrow stone bridge, suspended over a black chasm. On the far side, a city rose, not ruins, but alive, lit by hundreds of lanterns floating in the air. The architecture was impossible. Twisting towers of bone-white stone, windows shaped like eyes, streets that curved in perfect spirals. Where are we? Not anywhere on the maps I know. The arch behind them flickered and went dark, and in the silence that followed, a sound rose from below the bridge, not a whisper this time, but slow, deliberate footsteps. We're not alone. A shape emerged from the shadows beneath the bridge, climbing the stone like it had always belonged there. Its face was human, almost. Too smooth, too symmetrical, its eyes reflecting the lanterns above. It smiled. Emily, run! Emily bolted across the narrow bridge, Dylan right behind her. The stone underfoot thrummed like a plucked string, the vibrations chasing them toward the city gates. Female. It's gaining on us. Don't look back. The thing moved without sound now, closing the gap with impossible grace. The air between them shimmered as if warped by heat, distorting its outline into something monstrous. They crossed under the gates, towering arches of bone-white stone, their surfaces etched with the same shifting symbols as the portal. Inside, the streets twisted in maddening patterns. Some ended in blank walls, others looped back to where they'd started. Lanterns hovered in the air, drifting closer whenever Emily tried to choose a path, as though her movements were being herded. It's not letting us leave. Then we don't run straight. We lose it. Dylan grabbed her hand and turned sharply into a narrow alley. The walls so close, the stones scraped their shoulders. Above them, balconies leaned inward like listening ears. From somewhere ahead, a deep chime rang. Once, twice, 3 times, the sound rolled through the streets, and the lanterns dimmed. What was that? A signal, or a warning? Behind them, the pursuer's silhouette appeared at the alley's mouth. Its head tilted in an unnerving mimicry of curiosity, then it stepped forward, unhurried. Emily, climb! He shoved her toward a wooden scaffold leaning against the wall. She scrambled upward, hands burning against splintered rungs. Dylan followed, the structure swaying under their combined weight. Halfway up, the boards below splintered, not from their weight, but from something pressing against them from inside the wall. Pale fingers curled through the cracks. Go, go, go! They hauled themselves onto the rooftop. From here, the city's full strangeness unfurled. Streets spiraling into impossible curves, towers leaning at angles that defied gravity, bridges stretching between buildings that had no doors. In the far distance, another arch glowed faintly, a second portal. That's our way out. But the rooftops weren't safe. Shapes moved along them, too many to count, crawling, running, gliding, their forms shifting with every step. The city wasn't just occupied, it was hunting. Dylan, I think this is the thing's home. A sudden lurch threw them off balance. The rooftop beneath them began to tilt toward the street, folding like paper. Dylan grabbed Emily, dragging her toward the next building as tiles shattered and fell into the void. They jumped. Emily landed hard, the breath knocked from her lungs. Dylan pulled her to her feet without slowing, eyes fixed on the glowing arch ahead. We don't stop until we're through. The glowing arch grew brighter, with every leap across the shifting rooftops. Dylan's breaths came hard now, but he never slowed. The hunters were everywhere, slipping through windows, crawling over parapets, leaping gaps without effort. They're closing in! Then we get there first! The street below bent like a living thing, curling upward to meet them as they dropped onto a final rooftop. Emily's knees jolted on impact. but the arch was there, 10 steps away, its light spilling across the tiles like liquid fire. Behind them, the first of the pursuers vaulted onto the roof, its head turned sharply, locking onto Emily. The lanterns above flared. "Dylan!" They ran together, diving through the arch. For a heartbeat, there was nothing. No sound, no breath, no light. Then the ground reformed under their feet. They stood in a wide, circular chamber carved from black stone. The ceiling soared high above, lost in shadow, and the walls were lined with arches identical to the one they'd just crossed. Each glowed with a different color: green, violet, white, crimson, and through each shimmered a different landscape: a forest of crystal spires, an endless desert under 3 suns, a sea the color of blood. This isn't home. It's a junction. From the arch behind them, the pursuers stepped into the chamber. Dozens now, their forms shifting like liquid shadow. They didn't rush. They didn't need to. The chamber doorways sealed one by one, their lights snuffed out until only a single arch remained open, far across the room, glowing a cold, unnatural blue. Forward. It's hurting us. Yeah, and I'm not sure what's worse, where we're going or staying here. The blue glow pulsed, brighter with every heartbeat. Something moved inside it. Not a place this time, but a silhouette waiting on the other side. It was tall, still, and entirely too patient. Dylan's grip on the fire poker tightened. We move when it moves, not before. The silhouette stepped forward, and the chamber began to shake. The chamber's tremors deepened, dust falling from the unseen ceiling. The silhouette in the blue archway didn't advance further. It simply waited, unmoving, as though the shaking itself was its command. It's not coming to us. It wants us to go to it, which makes me want to do the opposite. The walls began to close in. Arches along the perimeter crumbled to black rubble, their glows winking out. The only light left was the blue shimmer ahead, a lure in the dark. From behind, the pursuers advanced in a tightening semicircle. Their movements were slow, deliberate, giving Emily and Dylan no illusion of escape. On 3, we sprint, female. And if it's worse on the other side, then we keep moving until we find something that's not trying to kill us. 1, 2, 3. They ran. The blue light swallowed them whole. The sensation was unlike the first portal, colder, sharper, as though they were being threaded through ice. Shapes swirled in the light around them. Not landscapes this time, but memories. Dylan on the bus before the disappearance, Emily stepping into the farmhouse the moment their eyes first met. It's showing us. No, it's reading us. The ground solidified beneath their feet. They stood in a vast, circular platform suspended in darkness, the edge falling away into nothing. In the center, a single figure waited. It was tall, robed in fabric that shimmered like oil, the patterns on it shifting in slow, hypnotic spirals. Its face was hidden beneath a mask, smooth, white, featureless, except for a single vertical slit where the mouth should be. When it spoke, the voice was neither male nor female, but both at once, layered like 2 people speaking in perfect sync. You should not have left. Who are you? We are the boundary, the keeper, the hunter. Why take the others? To keep balance, to seal the fracture, to prevent home from collapsing. The mask tilted, and the figure stepped closer. Now you are part of it, and you will help us. Help you? Do what? The figure's head lifted slightly. Behind the mask, something moved, not eyes but swirling lights, galaxies collapsing and reforming in miniature. Close the door you opened, or watch your world become ours. The platform shuddered beneath their feet. Far below in the endless black, something vast moved, a ripple that sent cold air spiraling upward. If this fracture is so dangerous, why do you need us? Because it was not we who opened it. You think we caused all this? You carried the key without knowing. Your arrival unlocked the first seal. Dylan's grip tightened on the fire poker. Emily could feel the tension radiating from him, but his eyes stayed fixed on the keeper. And if we refuse? Then the fracture widens. The hunters will no longer be bound to the roads and fields. They will walk your cities, your homes. All of them. Around the platform's edge, the sealed arches began to flicker back to life, one by one, each glowing in a different hue. The air filled with the scent of strange worlds bleeding through, scorched metal, alien flowers, salt-heavy wind. Each world holds a lock. You will pass through, you will close them, or you will not return. And you'll just let us go back after that? If the balance is restored, there will be no need to keep you. Emily exchanged a glance with Dylan. His expression said it all. Don't trust it. How do we close these locks? The keeper extended a hand. Resting in its palm was a shard of stone, blacker than the void, its edges pulsing faintly with blue light. Touch the shard to the heart of each lock. The shard will drink the fracture's energy. Dylan took it. The moment his fingers closed around the shard, it pulsed harder, the glow seeping into his skin like ink in water. Feels wrong. It is not meant to feel right. The keeper turned toward a crimson arch, the closest, its light staining the black stone floor. Begin there, but be warned, the hunters will follow. And if we fail, then you will learn what it means to be part of home. Without another word, the keeper stepped back into the shadows. The crimson arch's glow intensified, the air before it warping like heat over desert sand. Dylan looked at Emily. We go together, no matter what's waiting on the other side. Together. They stepped into the crimson light. The world twisted, and the ground beneath them dissolved. The crimson light spat them out onto cracked asphalt, heat rising in shimmering waves. The air stank of burnt metal and ash. Where is this? Around them stretched the skeleton of a city, towers gutted and blackened, streets split by jagged fissures that glowed faintly red, as if the earth's veins were exposed. Looks like the end of the world already happened here. A dry wind swept down the avenue, rattling loose sheets of scorched billboard paper. In the distance, something rumbled, slow, heavy, deliberate. Dylan held up the shard. The keeper said it would react when we're close. The stone in his palm pulsed once, twice, each beat in time with the faint red glow leaking from the fissures. So, the lock's somewhere under the city? Looks that way. They moved through the wreckage, stepping over twisted beams and burned-out cars. Emily's eyes caught movement on the edge of her vision, quick, shadowy shapes darting between the husks of buildings. We're being watched. Not hunters, something else. A sudden hiss echoed from the fissures. From the largest crack ahead, a black fluid began to rise, thick and glistening, pulling itself upward like a snake uncoiling from a pit. The shard flared, blinding white. That's it, that's the lock. Or the thing guarding it. The fluid solidified into a towering figure, its body made entirely of writhing tendrils, each one tipped with a burning ember. Its head split open down the middle, revealing a mouth lined with teeth that weren't teeth at all, but jagged shards of glass. It screamed, "Dylan! I see it!" The creature lunged, tendrils whipping toward them. Dylan grabbed Emily and rolled behind the shell of a bus, the impact shaking the ground. We need to get to its heart, wherever the shard's pulling us. And how do we get close without being shredded? Dylan's eyes darted to the fissures webbing across the street. We make it chase us into one of those. If the shard's reacting to them, maybe they connect to the lock directly. Emily nodded, her pulse pounding. The shard's light was growing stronger now, spilling between Dylan's fingers like molten metal. Above the rooftops, more shapes began to emerge. Not the hunters they knew, but other things drawn by the lock's awakening. The air trembled with their approach. We do this fast, or we're not walking away. Then we move now. Dylan broke from cover, the shard's light cutting through the smoke like a beacon. The creature's head snapped toward him, its glass teeth grin splitting wider. "Come on, you ugly bastard! Follow me!" The thing lunged, tendrils gouging deep furrows into the asphalt as it gave chase. Each impact rattled Emily's teeth. She sprinted behind Dylan, weaving between burned-out cars, their doors swinging like rusted jaws. The fissures glowed brighter as they ran, red light spilling upward like molten veins. "It's working. Keep going." The creature's tendrils whipped past her head, slicing through a steel sign like paper. Emily dove, rolling across the cracked pavement before pushing herself back up. Dylan veered toward the largest fissure ahead, its glow now almost blinding. "This is it. Get ready." The creature reared back, sensing the trap too late. Dylan planted his feet at the fissure's edge and raised the shard high. The shard's glow pulsed violently, and the fissure roared, an otherworldly sound like stone grinding on bone. "Now, Dylan." He slammed the shard down into the crack. The world seemed to fold inward. A shockwave ripped through the street, pulling the creature off balance. Its tendrils flailed, trying to anchor itself, but the fissure dragged them downward like chains yanking it into the earth. The red light turned white hot. The creature screamed, a shrill metallic wail that made the air vibrate. "Female. It's not letting go." "Then we help it along." Emily grabbed a loose steel beam from the wreckage and swung it hard, smashing through the creature's tendrils one by one. Each severed piece dissolved into ash before hitting the ground. The fissure's pull grew stronger, dragging both of them toward the glowing crack. Dylan dug his heels in, clutching the shard as the last of the creature's body was yanked into the light. With a final deafening crack, the fissure slammed shut. The red glow vanished, leaving only the smell of scorched air and the sound of Dylan's ragged breathing. "Is it done?" One lock closed. The shard in Dylan's hand was no longer black. It was streaked with a crimson vein that pulsed faintly, as though it had absorbed the creature's essence. From somewhere beyond the ruined street, a new sound rose, the distant, hollow chime they'd heard in the alien city. It was growing closer. "I don't think we get to rest. Then we find the next arch before that thing finds us." As they moved, the shadows in the burned buildings shifted, not from the sun, but from something moving against the light. The chime grew louder, each note rolling through the ruined streets like a warning bell. Dylan kept the shard clutched tight, scanning for any sign of the exit. There, between those buildings. Through the warped skeletons of two collapsed towers, a faint shimmer hung in the air, the outline of an arch, its surface quivering like water disturbed by a stone. They sprinted for it, the ground trembling beneath them. From behind, the shadows swelled, stretching up the walls, coalescing into shapes that moved faster than the eye could track. "Don't look back, just run." They dove through the shimmer. For a moment, weightlessness. Then, solid ground slammed under their feet. They stood in a place the opposite of the scorched city, a forest, green and lush, the air thick with the scent of moss and rain. Sunlight filtered through a canopy so dense it felt like stained glass made of leaves. This almost feels safe. Almost. Dylan looked down at the shard. The crimson vein pulsed, but now there was something else. Faint lines of green light threading through it, reacting to the new world. "It's changing again." Before Dylan could answer, the shard pulsed harder, and a voice whispered in Emily's mind. Not the keepers, not the hunters, but something deeper. They are not closing it. They are feeding it. Emily froze. "Dylan, did you hear that?" "Hear what?" She stared at the shard, her heartbeat pounding in her ears. The forest seemed to lean in around them, every branch bending slightly closer. I think the keeper's been lying to us. The forest floor was soft underfoot, layers of moss swallowing their footsteps. Sunlight dappled their faces through the canopy, but the air was unnervingly still. No birdsong, no rustle of small creatures. It's too quiet here. After the last place, I'll take quiet. They followed a narrow path, roots curling like skeletal hands from the soil. The shard in Dylan's grip pulsed faintly, the crimson vein throbbing in time with his heartbeat. But Emily saw it. The green light was growing stronger, bleeding into the red like vines wrapping around stone. A voice slid into her mind again. Locks are not cages, they are doors. He will open them all. It's talking to me again. Dylan didn't break stride. Ignore it. The keeper warned us. The fracture will try to turn us against each other. Emily's jaw tightened. Or maybe the keeper doesn't want us to know what's on the other side of these locks. Dylan stopped, turning to face her. You think the thing that sent hunters after us, dragged a busload of people into other worlds, is somehow the good one? The forest around them seemed to breathe. Leaves shifted though there was no wind. Shadows lengthened across the path as if listening. The shard pulsed harder in Dylan's hand, but Emily reached for it. Let me hold it for a while. He shook his head. Not happening. It reacts to whoever carries it, and I'm not letting it twist you. From somewhere ahead, a sound rose. A low groan, like wood straining under immense weight. The path widened into a clearing, and in the center stood a massive tree, its trunk split open to reveal a hollow glowing with the same green light now running through the shard. The voice in Emily's head swelled. Come closer, see the truth. Dylan, I think that's the lock. He stepped forward cautiously, but Emily felt her feet moving faster, drawn toward the light as if her body no longer entirely belonged to her. The clearing felt wrong, too still. Even the light filtering through the canopy seemed to bend inward, feeding the glow from the hollow trunk. Female. It's beautiful. It's bait. Dylan hung back, the shard clutched tight in his fist, but Emily kept walking. The moss grew thicker beneath her feet, damp and warm, almost pulsing. The voice in her head grew louder. Not a prison. A passage. Close it, and both worlds die. She froze. Dylan, what if the keeper's wrong? Or what if you're being played? A sudden movement from the hollow, roots unfurling like tentacles, each tipped with glowing green sap. They rose, curling toward Emily, not in attack but in invitation. Emily, stop. She didn't. The nearest root brushed her arm and the world shifted. She was standing on the bus again. Every seat filled, passengers talking, laughing. Outside the windows, rolling countryside. Normal, safe. But when she turned to the driver's seat, it was empty. The voice whispered inside the vision. This is what was taken. Close the locks, and it will never return. Emily staggered back as the vision dissolved, the clearing snapping into focus again. The roots were closer now, brushing the edge of Dylan's boots. We finish this now. He stepped forward, raising the shard, but the roots recoiled instantly, the glow within the trunk dimming as if in fear. It's afraid of the shard. Dylan's eyes narrowed, which means it's the lock, and we destroy it. Female, or it's the only thing keeping something worse out. The tension hung heavy between them. Behind Dylan, the trees whispered, not the wind, but voices, faint and urgent. The forest seemed to be closing in, shadows thickening. Emily, we don't have time for this. She looked at him, at the shard, at the roots trembling in the half-light. For the first time, she wasn't sure which side she was on. Dylan stepped toward the hollow, the shard's crimson and green light flickering across his face. His jaw was set, eyes locked on the trembling roots. We close it? Now. Dylan, listen to me. She moved in front of him, blocking his path. The moss underfoot pulsed faster, as if it could feel her choice. You're letting it in your head. That's how this thing works. Soft voice, pretty visions, then it feeds. I saw the bus, Dylan. Everyone was there. The lock didn't feel wrong. It felt like it was holding something back. Yes, but not what the keeper told us. Dylan tried to sidestep, but Emily grabbed his arm. The shard's light flared at her touch, and for an instant, both of them saw it. A flash of the keeper, standing at the center of an empty city, every arch around it wide open. That's what it wants, all the locks gone. Dylan, the keeper isn't protecting anything, he's collecting them. Mail. And you're trusting this thing over him? The trees groaned overhead, branches twisting unnaturally. From somewhere deep in the forest came the familiar chime. The hunters were close. Move, Emily. We don't have time to argue. Then make the right choice. She reached for the shard, but Dylan jerked it back. The glow surged brighter, and the roots reacted, lunging forward to wrap around both of them. Emily gasped as they lifted her from the ground, cradling her gently, almost protectively. Dylan was yanked upward too, but the roots around him were tighter, constricting, pulling him toward the hollow as if to drag the shard inside. Emily, do something. The voice filled her head again, louder than ever. Take the shard. Choose the path. Her hands shook. The hunter's chime was now deafening, the sound bleeding through the trees. She could see shadows moving between the trunks, long-limbed and fast. She looked at Dylan, struggling, desperate, and then at the glowing hollow. Whatever choice she made now would decide more than this lock. The roots around Emily tightened, not to crush her, but to hold her steady, a living anchor as the forest seemed to lean in, waiting. Dylan's face was flushed with effort, the shard still clutched in his straining fist. Emily, don't let it win. The voice inside her head surged, every word vibrating in her bones. Close it, and the keeper feeds. Spare it, and the fracture heals itself. Or maybe you're both lying. The hunters broke the tree line. Dark, elongated shapes that moved like shadows in water. The chime pounded through the clearing, so loud the moss trembled under its rhythm. Emily reached for Dylan's wrist. He jerked away, but the roots reacted instantly, pinning his arm, forcing the shard toward her. I'm sorry. She grabbed the shard. The moment her skin touched it, a jolt shot through her, the crimson and green veins flaring so bright they lit the forest like fire. The roots released Dylan and pulled back, curling protectively around the hollow. The hunters hesitated, their heads tilted in unison as if recalculating. What did you do? Spared it. I spared it. The hollow's glow flared and the roots lashed outward, not at Emily, but at the hunters, striking them with a force that shattered the ground. The creatures reeled back, their forms rippling like oil in boiling water before melting into the trees. The clearing fell silent again. You've just undone everything we've been trying to do. Or, I've stopped us from making the worst mistake of our lives. The shard in her hand no longer pulsed with red. It was entirely green now, and warm, almost alive. Far above, a shadow moved through the canopy, blotting out the sun for a moment. Emily looked up and saw an arch forming between two massive branches, its surface swirling with storm-gray light. The voice returned, softer now. The next path awaits, but he will not forgive you. Emily glanced at Dylan. His jaw was tight, his eyes cold. We move before they come back. The arch's storm-gray surface rippled above them, framed by two colossal branches thicker than the trunks of any tree they'd seen. A faint wind blew from it, smelling of salt and cold stone. You first? After you. Emily stepped into the glow, the shard warm in her grip. The forest's green light collapsed into darkness, and for a breathless second, she felt weightless. Then her boots struck solid ground. They stood on a sheer cliff edge, the sea churning hundreds of feet below. The sky was slate gray, the wind slicing through their clothes, carrying the cry of unseen gulls. Behind them, the cliff rose into jagged peaks that stabbed the clouds. This doesn't feel like the others. No hunters, yet. The shard's green glow dimmed here, replaced by a faint shimmer of blue along its edges. Emily turned it in her hand, watching the colors shift, a reminder that this lock would be different. Dylan's eyes tracked the shard more than the landscape. He said nothing, but his jaw worked in a slow grind, thoughts hidden behind the mask of wind-chapped skin. They moved inland, the path winding between stone outcrops. The air grew colder, the gull cries fading until the only sound was the crash of waves far below. Emily kept the shard close, her fingers curled tight around it. She didn't notice Dylan watching her hands, measuring the distance between them, noting every time her grip loosened. Male, she's already made one wrong choice. If she makes another, I'll have to take it. At the crest of a ridge, the view opened to a sprawling ruin. A fortress carved into the cliffs themselves, its towers broken and walls shattered by centuries of storms. In the center, a faint blue glow pulsed like a heartbeat. The shard's light quickened in response. There's our lock. As they descended toward the fortress, the wind shifted, carrying a sound unlike the hunter's chime, a low, resonant horn so deep it vibrated in their chests. Emily glanced at Dylan. Please tell me that's not another welcoming party. If it is, this time we're ready. But Dylan wasn't thinking about we. His eyes were on the shard, and the moment she slipped, even for a heartbeat, he knew exactly what he'd do. The fortress loomed higher as they descended, its weather-worn walls slick with sea spray. Massive iron gates hung askew, the hinges rusted to a deep orange. No hunters? Not yet. Doesn't mean it's empty. They slipped through a gap in the gates, boots echoing on worn flagstones. The courtyard beyond was choked with weeds, but in its center, rising from a cracked dais, stood the lock, a crystalline spire of ice-blue light, its surface rippling like frozen water under moonlight. The shard in Emily's hand warmed instantly, its blue vein brightening until it pulsed in time with the spire. It's beautiful. A voice drifted from the shadows under a collapsed archway. It's not here for you. Emily froze. From the shadows stepped a woman, tall, bareheaded, dressed in simple leather armor, her face pale but eyes bright and alert. She carried no weapon, yet her presence was sharper than steel. The shard belongs to me. Not going to happen. The woman's gaze moved between them, resting on Emily's grip. If you place that thing into the lock, you'll do exactly what your keeper wants. Open the way. Do you think he'll send you home when it's done? You know about the keeper? I've been closing his doors for longer than you've been alive, and every time he finds someone else to break them again. Dylan's focus wasn't on her words. His eyes flicked to Emily's hand. The shard was loose now, just enough space for him to grab it. The woman's presence had Emily's full attention. Give it to me, and I'll show you the truth of what you're carrying. If you know so much, why should we trust you? Dylan's hand twitched toward the shard. One quick move, and he could take it. End the risk of Emily siding with someone else again. But if he grabbed it now in front of the stranger, he'd be exposed. Male, wait for the moment she turns her back. The wind moaned through the broken walls, carrying with it the distant blare of the deep horn. The woman stepped closer, her eyes fixed not on Emily, but on Dylan. You're thinking about stealing it. Don't. The courtyard seemed to shrink around them, the broken walls leaning in under the weight of the wind. The crystalline lock pulsed brighter, throwing ripples of blue light across the stone. The woman didn't move any closer, but her voice carried with the authority of someone used to being obeyed. You can hand it to me now, or you can watch it kill you later. Those are your choices. You're asking for trust you haven't earned. You think the keeper has. Ask yourself why you've never seen what's on the other side of the locks he's so eager to close. The deep horn blared again, closer this time, shaking loose grit from the fortress walls. Somewhere far below, the sea surged violently against the cliffs, as if echoing the sound. Dylan's jaw flexed. His gaze shifted between Emily, the woman, and the shard. "We don't have time for this." "You have seconds. Choose." Dylan moved before Emily could react. His hand shot out, fingers closing over hers, wrenching the shard free. "Dylan! What the hell?" "You've already made one bad call. I'm not letting you make another." The shard's light flared in his grip, as if feeding on the conflict. The woman's eyes narrowed, her voice losing its calm edge. "You don't know what you're holding." "I know enough." He stepped toward the lock, but the woman moved with startling speed, cutting the distance between them. She didn't reach for the shard. She struck his wrist hard, sending pain shooting up his arm. The shard tumbled from his hand. Emily lunged, catching it just before it hit the ground. "Enough, both of you." The horn blared a third time, so close it rattled the stone under their feet. From beyond the broken gates, shadows began to stretch inward, pooling across the courtyard like spilled ink. The woman's eyes flicked toward the movement. "They've found us. Whatever you decide, do it now." The shadows surged through the broken gates, spilling across the courtyard like a flood. Their edges writhed, stretching upward into the tall, angular shapes of hunters, the air filled with the metallic scent of stormwater and stone dust. "Back to back!" "You don't give the orders here." "Do it, Dylan." Reluctantly, Dylan moved to Emily's left, the woman on her right. The crystalline lock pulsed faster, reacting to the growing danger. The first hunter leaped the gap in the gates, its limbs bending in ways no joint should. Dylan swung the fire poker with a grunt, the metal ringing against its slick form. The creature staggered, but the blow didn't drop it. "You can't kill them that way. Push them toward the lock's light." Emily raised the shard, and its glow flared. The nearest hunter recoiled, its body rippling like liquid in boiling water before retreating. Another lunged from the side. The woman spun, catching it with a heel strike that sent it sprawling into the blue glow spilling from the lock. It dissolved in a hiss of vapor. "All right, that works." More poured in, scaling the courtyard walls, sliding through cracks in the stone. The horn's sound was now a constant, reverberating in their bones. Emily swung the shard in an arc, driving two hunters back toward Dylan, who batted them straight into the light. But each kill seemed to make the lock's glow deepen, and the shard's blue vein throb harder in her hand. "It's feeding on this. And you're the one feeding it." A hunter dropped from the wall behind Dylan. The woman lunged, pulling him clear. Her move opened a gap on Emily's side. A hunter burst through, its elongated fingers raking the air inches from her face. She thrust the shard forward on instinct. The glow exploded outward, a wave of blue light that swept across the courtyard. Every hunter froze mid-step, their forms twitching before collapsing into puddles of black liquid that sank into the stone and vanished. Silence fell, broken only by the fading echo of the horn. "You could have done that the whole time?" "No. I think it only works when it wants to." The woman's gaze locked on the shard. "And right now, it wants you. That's not a gift, it's a leash." The courtyard was still, save for the faint hiss of seawater against the cliffs below. The crystalline lock's glow had settled into a steady, slow pulse, like a giant at rest. Dylan's knuckles were white around the fire poker, his gaze locked on the shard in Emily's grip. "You're not keeping that thing any longer than you already have. It saved our lives." "No, you saved our lives. It just happened to be in your hand when you did it." The woman stepped forward, calm but watchful, her eyes never leaving Emily's. "He's half right. The shard will make you stronger, yes, but it will take from you in return. And once it decides you're done, it will find someone else." "Then why do you want it?" "Because I know how to use it without being used." Dylan laughed, short and bitter. Yeah, sure. You just happen to be the one person in all these worlds who's immune to it? The woman ignored him, taking another slow step toward Emily. I can take you to a place the keeper doesn't know about. A place where you can see the fracture for yourself. Not his version, not mine, the truth, but you'll have to leave him behind. The air between them seemed to tighten. Dylan's grip on the poker shifted subtly. Ready, defensive. We're not splitting up. I haven't decided anything yet. Decide quickly. The keeper will know what happened here, and when he sends his hunters again, they won't be testing you. They'll be ending you. Emily felt the shard's warmth in her palm, steady and alive, as if it could hear the conversation and was waiting for her choice. In the distance, the horn sounded again, not the deep blare from before, but a sharp, urgent call. They were running out of time. The horn's sharp cry rolled through the fortress, bouncing off the broken walls. It was closer now, no more than a minute away. Emily's fingers tightened around the shard. Its blue light shimmered over her knuckles, steady as a heartbeat, almost reassuring. Last chance. Come with me, and I'll show you what the keeper doesn't want you to see. Emily, don't. You have no idea who she is or what she's after. Maybe I don't know what either of you are after. The woman's expression didn't change, but her eyes gleamed. The look of someone who knew she was close to winning. Dylan shifted his weight, the poker angled slightly as if ready to intercept her if she stepped closer. Emily glanced between them, the pressure in her chest tightening. If I go with her, I might finally see the truth. If I stay with you, we're just doing the keeper's work without knowing why. And if you're wrong, you'll hand the shard over to someone worse than him. The air around them changed. A ripple passed through the courtyard's shadows, and the horn blast was replaced by a sound Emily had come to dread, the chime of the hunters. From every gap in the broken walls they emerged, black shapes stretching unnaturally, their heads tilting in perfect unison toward the shard in her hand. Choose now. Emily. Her decision formed in her mind. But before she could speak, the first hunter leaped, a blur of shadow and teeth. Dylan shoved her sideways, the shard slipping in her grip. It hit the stone, and the light inside it erupted. A shockwave blasted outward, hurling hunters against the walls, shattering ancient stone. Emily hit the ground hard, the shard skittering to a stop between her, Dylan, and the woman, all three of them reaching for it at once. The shard spun once on the flagstones, its glow pulsing so bright, it painted the courtyard in icy light. Hunters reeled in the glare, hissing like steam on hot metal. But they didn't stop advancing. Emily scrambled to her knees, fingers stretching for the shard. Dylan dove from the left, the woman from the right. It's mine! It's mine! Not this time! Their hands collided over it, the light flaring between their skin. Emily felt a shock like plunging into freezing water. Visions slammed into her mind, the forest lock's roots, the scorched city's fissures, the keeper's masked face. Dylan's grip was iron, but the woman was stronger. She twisted, using his momentum against him, and ripped the shard free. Move if you want to live. Without waiting, she darted toward the crystalline lock in the center of the courtyard. The hunters surged after her, but the shard's light burned holes through their forms, forcing them to skirt the beam. Dylan hauled Emily up. We can still take it back. Female. She'll be gone the moment she touches that lock. The woman reached the base of the spire, planting one hand on its glowing surface. For an instant, the shard's blue light bled into the lock's core, and the air split with a sound like tearing metal. A vertical seam opened in the air above the dais, swirling with pale gold light. Beyond it lay a bridge of black stone, stretching into a place neither Emily nor Dylan recognized. Unknown female. With me, or stay and die. Hunters poured in from every wall now, their forms flickering as the shard's energy weakened. Emily met Dylan's eyes. We follow, for now. Together, they sprinted after her, leaping onto the dais just as the first hunter's claws swept the air where Emily's back had been. The gold light swallowed them whole. The golden light stretched around them, warm yet weightless, like falling through a sunbeam that had no end. Then the ground caught them, not with the crunch of stone or the softness of moss, but a deep, resonant thud, as if they'd landed on the skin of something vast and alive. Emily staggered upright, Dylan close behind. The woman was already moving ahead, shard in hand, her boots leaving faint impressions in the surface that slowly closed behind her. Where are we? The space around them wasn't sky or walls. It was an endless curve of pale gold, dotted with veins of light running in perfect spirals. Each vein pulsed gently in time with the faint vibration under their feet. Far off, bridges of black stone stretched between towering structures shaped like arches, each one containing a swirling window into a different world. The scorched city, the green forest, the cliffside fortress. Some worlds Emily didn't recognize at all. Deserts under triple moons, seas frozen into glass, a city suspended in a web of steel. It's all of them, every lock. The woman stopped at the edge of a bridge leading toward the largest arch. This one glowed brighter than the rest, its light pure white and shifting with strange, slow patterns. That's the fracture's core. It's not a wound, it's a gate. Emily stared at her. Then the keeper isn't keeping it closed. He's controlling what comes through. Dylan's eyes narrowed, his voice sharp. And you? What's your plan? Open it all the way. No more locks, no more walls, everything connected. Emily felt the vibration under her boots deepen, the golden surface trembling as if in anticipation. The shard's glow intensified in the woman's hand, but for the first time it wasn't a steady pulse. It was flickering, almost as if uncertain who it belonged to. Dylan stepped forward. Hand it over, or this ends now. The woman smiled faintly. Then end it. The bridge ahead rippled, and from the white-lit arch, something began to emerge. Not a hunter, not anything they'd seen before, but a vast, serpentine form made of pure light, twisting and folding like it existed in more than one place at once. The shard flared in the woman's grip. Too late. It's already waking up. The serpent of light coiled slowly out of the white-lit arch, its body an endless ribbon of brilliance. It shimmered in colors that didn't exist, shifting in ways Emily's eyes could barely follow, like it was folding and unfolding across places her mind couldn't hold at once. When it turned its head toward her, she realized it had no face, just a smooth, luminous curve, yet she knew it was looking at her. The vibration beneath her boots deepened into a rhythm, not threatening but steady, almost like a heartbeat. You carry my breath. Emily's chest tightened. The words hadn't passed through her ears. They bloomed directly inside her thoughts, warm and absolute. Your breath? The serpent's coils shifted, and the shard in the woman's hand flared blindingly, pulsing in sync with the creature's rhythm. They called it the fracture. It is not. It is the spine between worlds. And they would break it to rule its pieces. Dylan's voice cut through the air, harsh. Emily, don't listen to it. This is how it gets inside your head. The woman didn't take her at lying. You can feel that, can't you? Emily could. There was no deception in the serpent's voice. Only scale, vastness. Something so far beyond her, it felt like trying to comprehend the ocean with a teacup. You have walked my locked bones. You have felt them turn. You may choose to open them, or leave them to the one who binds me. The light from the arch surged, the serpent's body arching higher, coils wrapping partially around the bridge without touching it. The vibration became a hum that resonated in Emily's teeth. Dylan stepped closer to her, eyes locked on the shard. We're ending this. Now. The serpent's voice pressed harder into her mind. If he takes it, I will be buried again. If she keeps it, I will be free. Emily's hands itched with the need to reach for the shard. to take it from the woman, to feel that connection for herself. But Dylan's shadow loomed beside her, and the serpent's coils pulsed with impatient light. 3 paths, no time to think. The bridge trembled under the serpent's weightless coils, though they never touched the stone. The shard's blue light flickered wildly in the woman's hand, torn between owners, as if it too was waiting for Emily's answer. Dylan's voice was sharp, urgent. "Emily, we destroy it and shut this whole thing down. That's the only way anyone goes home." The woman's tone was quieter, steadier. "Or we open it all and end the Keeper's control forever. You know what side he's on." "I am not war. I am passage. I am what was before they carved me into pieces." The hum in the bridge deepened until Emily felt it in her bones. Her breath slowed, the world narrowing to 3 points: Dylan, the woman, the serpent, and the shard between them. She stepped forward. "Give it to me." The woman hesitated, then pressed the shard into Emily's palm. It was warm, alive, and the moment her fingers closed around it, the flickering stopped. The blue glow steadied, and the serpent's hum resonated in perfect sync with her heartbeat. Dylan's eyes went cold. "You just picked a side." The serpent's coils tightened around the arch without touching it, the white light flaring so bright it bleached the bridge's stone. "Then walk with me, and I will show you the spine whole again." The bridge lurched. The arches in the distance flickered, showing glimpses of other worlds, but not the ones Emily had seen before. These were different, untouched, vibrant. Dylan stepped back, the gap between them no longer just physical. "If you're wrong, you'll doom every world we've set foot in." Emily tightened her grip on the shard. "If I'm wrong, we were already doomed." The serpent's head dipped toward her, and the world tipped forward, the bridge falling into the white light as Dylan's shout echoed behind her. The bridge fell like a severed plank into the white light, the air rushing past Emily's ears without wind. The serpent's coils unfurled around her, not touching, but guiding, steering her path with currents of heat and vibration. The woman landed lightly beside her, boots finding impossible footing in the brightness. "Where is it taking us?" "To the spine's source. The Keeper can't follow us there." Emily glanced back. Dylan was a shrinking figure on the breaking bridge above, the white light curling around him like smoke. He turned toward a smaller, shadowed arch that had opened behind him, its glow faint and flickering. For a heartbeat, she thought he'd leap after them. Instead, he ran for the darker path. "He's not coming with us." "He can't. The serpent won't carry anyone it doesn't trust." The brightness thickened into mist, and shapes began to form within it, towering spires of bone-white stone connected by living bridges that pulsed faintly as though they were breathing. Below, there was no ground, only an endless fall into glowing rivers that wove between the structures like veins. The serpent's voice filled her head again, deeper now, more insistent. "Ha! Here is where the locks were born. Here is where they will die." Far above, a distant rumble. Dylan's path. She pictured him moving through that darkened arch, unaware of where it led, or perhaps knowing too well. The woman caught her watching. "Don't lose focus. He made his choice. You make yours." The serpent dipped lower, its coils wrapping around a colossal tower and lowering them toward a gaping doorway carved with symbols Emily had seen on the shard's surface. "Step inside, and I will give you the key to open them all." Emily's hand tightened around the shard. Somewhere in that flickering arch Dylan had taken, she could almost feel his determination burning, and the danger waiting for him. Dylan hit the ground hard, boots skidding on slick black stone. The light here wasn't bright or pure. It was dim and oily, dripping down the walls in slow rivulets like melted tar. The air was thick, heavy, and humming with a low vibration that seemed to live in his bones. "This isn't the serpent's path." "Good." Ahead, the passage curved into a vast chamber lit by hanging chains. each one ending in a glass sphere filled with swirling shadows. The keeper stood in the center, mask gleaming white against the gloom. She carries the shard. She's with someone else now. Some woman who says she's been closing your doors. Ah, the Wanderer. The keeper's voice had the same layered quality as before, but this time there was an edge beneath it, a current of irritation. She's trying to take her to the fracture's source, the serpents leading them. The keeper stepped closer, the smooth mask catching the dim light. Then you will follow. You will take the shard from her, and you will bring it to me. And what do you do with it after that? I keep the spine bound. If it opens, the worlds will bleed into each other. Some will consume the rest. Dylan's hand tightened on the fire poker. He wanted to believe the keeper, because believing meant he wasn't helping the wrong side. But the serpent's voice and the woman's accusations still rang in his ears. One of them's lying, maybe both. Take the shadow path. It will bring you to them before they reach the core. But Dylan, the keeper leaned close. If she resists, you must be ready to end her. Dylan stepped into the arch the keeper indicated, the air instantly colder, pressing against his skin like damp cloth. The passage was narrow, carved from black stone that drank what little light there was. Each step made the ground whisper, not with echoes, but with words he couldn't quite catch, syllables that seemed to coil away when he tried to listen. If this thing's taking me to her, it's not out of charity. The darkness ahead shifted, thinning into a gray mist that curled along the floor. Through it, shapes moved, arches like broken ribs, leaning over a pathway that twisted through nothingness. Beyond the edges, there was no ground at all, only a slow, spiraling void. A low vibration rolled under his feet. The serpent's voice. Not in his head like with Emily, but somewhere far away, faint, wary. He comes. Dylan froze. It knows I'm here. He pushed forward, following the rib-like arches deeper into the mist. Ahead, light bled through, pale gold shifting like water, and with it came the faint echo of voices, Emily's, and the woman's. We don't have long before it notices you. Unknown female, distant. It already has. Dylan's grip on the poker tightened. His plan was simple. Get close enough to grab the shard, then decide whether to run or destroy it. The keeper's warning echoed in his head. If she resists, you must be ready to end her. He didn't like that thought, but he didn't dismiss it either. The path bent sharply, the mist thinning, and there they were, standing before a colossal door carved with the same spiraling patterns that had lined every lock. The serpent's luminous coils encircled the tower, its head lowered protectively toward Emily. Resonant voice. You walk with him. The serpent's head turned, its faceless gaze locking on Dylan. The serpent's coils shifted, tightening around the tower without touching it, the light in its body flaring brighter. The mist around Dylan's boots shivered as though alive, retreating from the creature's presence. You carry his scent. If you mean the keeper. Yeah, I've spoken to him. Didn't have much choice. The serpent's head dipped lower until its smooth, luminous surface hovered inches above him. There was no face, no mouth, yet Dylan could feel its scrutiny like heat against his skin. He sent you to take her light. He sent me to stop her from making a mistake she can't take back. The serpent's body rippled in a slow, rolling wave. And if the mistake is mine? Dylan didn't answer. He shifted his grip on the fire poker, steadying his voice. Then maybe you and I both have something to lose. For a long moment, the serpent was still. Then it drew back, its head turning toward the colossal door where Emily and the woman stood. One step closer, and she will know why you came. Dylan smirked faintly. She'll find out eventually. He moved forward, slow and deliberate, past the serpent's looming form. Emily's head turned at the sound of his boots on the stone, her eyes narrowing the instant she saw him. Dylan? How? The woman stepped between them, her hand hovering near the shard at Emily's side. He's here for it. The serpent's coils tightened again, light pulsing like a warning through the mist. The choice comes sooner than you think. Emily's fingers closed protectively around the shard, its blue light steady but warmer now, as if sensing her unease. Dylan stopped a few paces away, the fire poker hanging loosely in his grip, but his eyes locked on hers. I'm not here to fight you. I'm here to keep you alive. He's here because the Keeper sent him. That's the only reason he'd risk stepping into this place. Dylan, is that true? He hesitated. Not long, but long enough. I came through his path, yeah, but that doesn't mean I'm his man. You know me better than that. Do you? Emily's heart pounded. The serpent's vast head loomed behind her, its hum vibrating through the stone under her feet, silent but watchful. If he takes it, I will fade. And the spine will remain in chains. She tightened her grip. You didn't trust me in the forest, Dylan. You tried to take it by force. Now you just happen to show up when the Keeper's losing control? Because I don't know which is worse. You opening the wrong door or him keeping them all shut. The woman shifted slightly, angling herself so she was between Dylan and the shard, but not between Emily and the serpent. You don't need him, not for this. Emily looked from Dylan's set jaw to the woman's unblinking stare. The serpent's light pulsed once, bright enough to bleach the air. Choose. Her next words would decide everything, whether Dylan stayed in her orbit or whether they walked opposite paths for good. Emily drew in a breath. Dylan, if you want to help, you stay at my side. No moves for the shard, no Keeper's orders. You break that, we're done. Dylan's grip tightened on the poker. For a moment, Emily thought he might argue, but then he nodded once, slow and deliberate. Fine, your lead. The serpent's hum deepened, the colossal door before them beginning to split open, spilling a light so bright it burned away the mist. Then we walked together. For now. The door's split widened with a grinding resonance that echoed in their chests. Light poured through in thick beams, not steady, but shifting, sometimes warm gold, sometimes the cold white of moonlight, as if two different suns were vying for control. The serpent uncoiled from the tower, its body flowing through the doorway like a river of light, and motioned them forward without words. Step through, and you will see all that was taken. Emily crossed first, the shard warming in her grip until it almost throbbed with its own pulse. Dylan followed close, his eyes flicking to every shadow for movement. The woman brought up the rear, her hand resting lightly on the hilt of a blade Emily hadn't noticed before. Inside, the space was impossible. They stood on a platform of woven light suspended over an infinite drop. Around them, colossal arches hung in midair like the ribs of a sleeping giant, each one filled with a different world. Some Emily recognized, the scorched city, the green forest, the fortress on the cliff, but others were alien, a sky of shattered moons, a desert where shadows moved without bodies, an ocean inverted in the air. At the platform's center, two forces were locked in silent combat. On one side, the serpent's coils shimmered, each pulse bending the arches toward it. On the other, a column of shadow rose, its surface shifting into familiar shapes. The outline of the Keeper's mask, the jagged edge of the hunter's forms, the archways she had seen in his domain. He binds the spine. I unwind it. The shadow column spoke without sound, its words forming in Emily's mind alongside the serpent's. I hold the pieces together. Without me, they bleed into each other until none survive. The competing voices tangled in her thoughts, pressing from both sides until she had to grit her teeth. The shard's light flared violently, torn between blue and crimson, its glow stuttering like a dying heartbeat. Dylan's voice cut through the noise. Emily, whatever side you pick, it's now. Pick wrong, and every world in here goes with it. The serpent's head dipped toward her. The Keeper's shadow loomed higher, and the arches shivered as if ready to tear free. The shard burned in her hand. The decision was hers alone. The shard's light tore between blue and crimson, the heat in Emily's palm almost unbearable. The serpent and the keeper were locked in a silent war, each pulse of their power threatening to tear the arches from their anchors. Emily's breath came hard, the air thick with the metallic taste of tension. "Give me the shard, and I will free them all. Place it within my shadow, and the spine will endure." Dylan stepped closer, voice low but urgent. "Think about what you've seen. The doors, the worlds, the people trapped in between. Which future do you want to live with?" The woman's eyes stayed on Emily's, unblinking. "Free it before the keeper locks the last door forever." The shard pulsed once more, harder, and a vision split through Emily's mind. Arches shattering, worlds bleeding together, cities dissolving under skies that belonged to somewhere else, or the arches standing frozen, their worlds locked away, unreachable, their people never crossing paths again. Neither was clean, neither was safe. No one gets to own it, not him, not you. She slammed the shard down onto the platform. The light exploded outward in a blinding wave, smashing into both the serpent and the keeper. The serpent recoiled, coils thrashing, its hum turning into a sharp, keening note. The keeper's column of shadow shuddered, fragments splintering off and vanishing into the void. The arches above them twisted violently, their worlds flickering in and out, but instead of tearing apart, they spun into new alignments, forming patterns that neither side had controlled. The shard shattered in Emily's hand, the pieces dissolving into motes of light that scattered into every arch at once. The serpent's voice was faint now, strained. "You broke the spine." The keeper's tone was ragged, almost human. "Or remade it." Dylan grabbed Emily's arm as the platform lurched beneath them. All around, the arches were shifting into new shapes, and somewhere in the distance, entirely new worlds began to open. The platform steadied, but the air still quivered as though the entire spine were holding its breath. The arches rotated slowly above them, their light shifting through colors Emily had no names for. Where once each arch had shown a single, sealed world, now their edges bled into one another. A forest spilling into a glass city, a desert crowned by an ocean in the sky, a mountain range streaked with molten rivers. The serpent withdrew. Its coils dimmed to a faint shimmer. It lingered at the edge of the platform, head lowered, watching her without moving. "I cannot walk in what you have made." It coiled away into the arches without another word, vanishing into a pale horizon that twisted as it moved. Across from it, the keeper's shadow column fractured into drifting shards of black glass. The mask remained, floating alone for a moment before it too dissolved into smoke. "If it unravels, they will come for you first." Then he was gone. Emily's knees felt weak, the warmth of the shard replaced by a strange emptiness in her hand. Dylan was still holding her arm, his grip steady despite the tremor in his own voice. "You just rewrote the rules for everything." The woman stepped closer to the edge of the platform, looking up at the shifting arches. "Not rewrote, unchained." Far above, one of the newly formed arches flickered, and for an instant, Emily saw figures crossing between worlds, carrying pieces of their homes with them. None of the old boundaries seemed to matter anymore. But with each crossing came ripples. Storms blooming in the wrong skies, oceans rising where there had been plains, animals and people alike stepping into places they were never meant to survive. The cost of her choice was already moving through the spine. Dylan's voice was quiet. "So, what now?" Emily stared into the nearest arch, its edge humming with unfamiliar energy. "We see what comes through." Weeks had passed since the spine shifted. The world Emily knew had not broken apart overnight, but it had changed in ways no one could ignore. The edges between realities were thinner now, shimmering lines that sometimes appeared in empty streets or under starlit skies. People had begun to cross, traders, wanderers, entire families, bringing with them objects, languages, and creatures no one had seen before. Emily, Dylan, and the woman had made camp in the remains of an abandoned observatory. Its great dome cracked open to a sky where two moons now hung side by side. From here, they watched the crossings, mapping the shifting paths and cataloging what came through. 3 today, the woman said, laying her notes on the table.
1 from the Mirror Coast, 2 from the Glass Fields. And no keeper's shadows? Dylan asked. The woman shook her head. That didn't mean he was gone. Emily still felt it, an absence like a missing tooth, a gap where his presence should be. The serpent was the same. No sign, no hum in her bones, but sometimes at the edges of sleep she'd hear a faint vibration, like a cord plucked far away. If they're still out there, Emily said, they're waiting, watching to see what this becomes. Dylan glanced toward the cracked dome, his eyes tracking a faint ripple that shimmered briefly in the air before vanishing. Then we make sure what it becomes is worth keeping. Outside, the wind carried scents from more than one world. Salt and ash, flowers and dust. Emily closed her eyes, breathing it in, knowing that the spine's unchaining had set something in motion that no one could stop. Somewhere, arches were still moving. Somewhere, eyes unseen were still watching. And somewhere, in the distance between worlds, the hum of the serpent and the shadow of the keeper waited for the day they might be called upon again. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe, ring the bell, and tell your friends about my listening library.